Tracy for QTV, and as everyone knows, the closure of Clark has provoked a variety of responses, some of which are really passionate among students. So let's go see what they all have to say.
When did you hear about the closure? Were you informed prior to the announcement, or?
Aaron found out and actually came to my house after. So we found out, I guess the day before I got the email saying
It's closed.
Yeah.
And how did that make you feel?
I had a lot of emotions. I was confused and angry, I'm not gonna lie.
What was your first reaction when you heard Clark Hall was closing?
I was really disappointed because I hadn't been before. I'm a second year and I wasn't of age last year, and I was really, really excited to go to Ritual this year and really disappointed that it's closed down.
Yeah.
I really wanted to go to Ritual this year. It was one of the things I was really looking forward to, along with the bands, along with the homecoming parties. But I guess I won't get to do any of that now.
You didn't know about it until after it was closed?
We had no idea. There was no discussion with any of the Clark staff. It was just a decision made by the E2.C1 exec. And then we were told afterwards.
Players all these years has taken place at Clark Hall Pub, like most of us know. When you heard it had shut down, what was your initial reaction?
Unfortunately, I had gone there, and of course there was an incident at a players' show, unfortunately, that I became aware of after I got there. And so after that, I thought that there could be an issue arising. I was pretty surprised as to the finality of it, the fact that they just sort of fired everybody and decided to start with a completely blank slate. But given the reality of campus, the fact that all the bars are united under one liquor license, you can see how powers that be would be a little nervous about any bar.
Financially, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because, I was actively involved in Queen's Players for a number of shows, and I've heard through the grapevine that each run of shows makes Clark upwards of $10,000, which in itself is a reason why the pub should definitely be reconsidered for reopening again.
Up until now, basically Clark has been the #1 place for bands to play. Clark would take any band. If you're a campus band, you always had a place to play at Clark. So basically without Clark, there's nowhere for campus bands to play.
So one thing everyone knows, I know, pretty much everyone knows that the Engineering Society is fiercely loyal to its own. And what sort of, with this whole Clark closure, what's been going on? What's the alumni response been to your emails, that sort of thing, support-wise?
Well, the alumni they've definitely been really involved as far as wanting to know what's going on with Clark, because Clark was just such a huge thing back in the day. It started in 1971 or so, and so all the alumni from the 70s and from the 80s have been very very interested to know what's going on.
What does it mean in terms of how tradition is such a big thing here? Do you think that's an important loss?
Absolutely. It's the end of an era. With any closure or any significant change, you're going to lose something. But also, whenever Clark Hall comes back, it'll be something different. It'll be something new. When I first got here, Alfie's was a moldy basement, more or less. It used to be really cool. It was an awesome place to go, and it went down for about a year. And now it's sort of re-risen as a great place for students to go and have a good time.
Are you guys actively involved in the issue?
Yeah, I've spoken to the AMS a few times. Actually, I work for the AMS now, and I'm definitely bringing it up as much as I can, trying to get people to realize that Clark Hall is a really important part of the Queen's experience.
Aside from one Facebook group, no.
Hopefully we'll all get together as a society and do whatever we have to, fundraise, do events for it.
Can you name a favorite story that you've heard from an alumni?
My favorite story is actually from a Psi 85 guy, and he was telling me about back in the day they had the jaw crusher. And so what the jaw crusher was all the mining engineers at Ritual would be drinking their beers, and then they'd be loading up their table with all the empty glass bottles. And then once the table got too full, they would all move the bottles down onto the floor, take the table, turn it upside down, and start chanting jaw crusher, and then proceed to smash all the bottles into the floor, and kept smashing the bottles until they're fine sand.
I think it's important that while we disagree with the decision that was made, and we're rather angry with E2.C1 at the moment, it's important to realize that our main goal is to get the pub up and running as soon as possible, and that's not something that can happen overnight. So now we need to work with E2.C1 to reach some sort of solution. So there can't really be any bitter feelings in the moment. We have to put those aside for the better part of the community here.
So you think it'll open eventually? What do you think has to happen for it to open again?
Well, they had a lot of money issues and everything, and I think that they'd have to retrain the staff, let them know what the rules they actually have to follow with the AMS and everything. So I feel when everybody's under the same guidelines, they'll be able to open it again.
Do you think there's going to be a new bar picked for Ritual? Do you think there's going to be places in the ghetto set up for Ritual? What do you think is going to happen?
I think that the alumni are going to make something happen. So I think that the people paying for the university and all the engineering things are going to want something to happen.
I haven't heard of any alternatives to Clark Hall Pub. It seemed pretty unique.
Is there going to be a homecoming ritual?
Right now we have Adam Zborowski is actually sort of leading that initiative, and we're going to be looking for some help from students as well to sort of establish what more we can do for a homecoming ritual. And we're playing around with some options right now.
So I think what we all should gain from this is that there are a ton of positive initiatives being taken, both by NSHOC and by other student groups, to ensure that the hole in all of our hearts that Clark once filled will be filled again. Heather Christie for QTV, signing off.